I guess they didn't use the replay assist on the face mask call on Bellinger earlier in the game. I mean, I just the way that they are officiating games is all over the place. I don't want to blame the officials. There were real penalties, and they were throwing flags on players that were playing poorly. But the Giants had every opportunity. They had the ball for over 36 minutes. They were doing everything offensively they needed to do to help their defense. You know, if that would have been reversed, where the Cowboys had the ball 36 minutes, I think the Giants would have lost by 21 points. The Giants missed so many ample opportunities. This is the first time, believe it or not, in Giant history where they had two wide receivers that had at least 11 catches in the game. So Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Neighbors, unfortunately, the last two balls that were thrown to them, they dropped. This is not on Daniel Jones. If I'm going to nitpick on Daniel Jones's performance, it will just be the deep balls that he threw and didn't have the opportunity to complete a couple because he underthrew them, especially the free one where Trayvon Diggs undercut him. He knew he had a free pass. He should just launch that thing and let Darius Slayton go get it. So there were a number of drop passes. And I think, when I read this morning and listen to Brian Daboll's comments about his quarterback, I think he's right. I think he's played 3 really good games, 3 winning games, or his performance gave his team a chance to win, but he's got to get his team into the end zone. But this was a lost opportunity without question. This was also a game in which everybody said the Giants should be able to run the ball with their new offensive line, the fact that the Dallas Cowboys can't stop the run. Well, the Dallas Cowboys can't stop the run when Lamar Jackson's in the backfield.
Well, and Derrick Henry.
Henry. But, Lamar completed it or threw 18 passes against the Cowboys. I think he completed like 14 of 18 or whatever. But he ran for like 80 yards. That's not Daniel Jones's game, although he did run last night a few times, got out of trouble a few times. The Wan'Dale Robinson drop pass that looked like it was a catch and a fumble and it was almost returned for a touchdown that was obviously replay assist. It was an incomplete pass. That play right there was a huge play in this game. The other huge play is where he's coming over the middle and he's being held and the ball hits him in the stomach and he doesn't hold on to it. And then, of course, the Malik Neighbors on the sideline where Daniel throws the ball perfectly. And, Malik is great. I think he's going to be fantastic. You can see it. But that's a play that he has to make on the sideline.
Well, and then he obviously gets hurt on top of it.
I know. I mean, like all that stuff. But those are like a couple of plays that I looked at and I said, if those plays are made, they may win the football game because the Dallas Cowboys offense really wasn't on the field.
Yeah, and that's another one of these games that you look at within the division where you feel like they had outplayed their opponent like they did against the Commanders, but for one reason or another, they end up losing the game. They have more time of possession last night. And also, I mean, why are you kicking a 22-yard field goal when you're the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys when you get down there? I mean, why?
I'll tell you what, they had a chance to win the game because of all this.
But let's just talk about that for a moment.
Okay.
Because I think that's a critical point from last night. Because all of us, and we feel like we have a finger on the pulse of this fan base and this team and what they need and the history of this game. And they're down there. They have this long-ass drive. And they're sitting there on, the 4-yard line?
Yep.
4th and goal from the 4. And Brian Daboll doesn't have enough confidence in his offense to go for that. I mean, those are the type of moments where you're like, if we're going to beat these guys, we gotta get the ball in the goddamn end zone right now, and I can't just be trotting out Greg Joseph again for a 22-yard field goal.
I know. There were 3 or 4 on 4th down. I understand what you're saying. I mean, the way that the game was being played out, the Giants had the ball at the end, and they could have won it at the end. They had 2 drop passes. And then, of course, I don't count the Hail Mary interception. That doesn't mean anything to me because they did get the ball back because Joseph missed. And thank you, Joseph, for missing. I was very happy about that. Okay. But I will say that I understand your frustration there. And if you want to get over the hump, you got to be aggressive. There were times where he was aggressive, I thought. And then there were times, this is a coach that actually just lost the game 2 weeks ago to nothing but field goals.
Yeah.
And there's been a plethora of field goals and field goal attempts, by the way, early in this season. So All
Well,
I
you
can
got
tell
Malik
you,
Neighbors too, who you don't have to throw him the ball in that situation, but he also commands a ton of attention. I mean, you've got a weapon that you haven't had when you've been the head coach of the New York Giants. I mean, to me that was so frustrating. You obviously heard the fans in the crowd last night booing the decision, and I that to me is a different Brian Daboll than we got used to in the first couple of years of him being here.
I have to sit here and say that as watching the game last night, I didn't feel. I know we're thinking, okay, it's the Cowboys are going to put up a lot of points, and field goals are not going to do them any good. If they're going to lose 30-15, but that wasn't the case. They controlled the football. They controlled the game predominantly the entire game. We all knew that CeeDee Lamb was going to get involved because he was bitching and complaining last week.
Squeaky wheel spot.
And then, of course, gets a taunting penalty on his first touchdown. I thought he was supposed to, rein in his emotions, but I guess not. But I think overall it's a frustrating loss because they should have won the game. I don't want to say should have, but they could have won the game if they make a couple of plays late in the game. And Daniel Jones put the ball where he needed to put it, and two guys who played well at football games both dropped the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and
at the end of the game, which would have led, and I'm not saying that they would have scored a touchdown, but would have kept the drive going. It would have kept them moving down the field, and then maybe ultimately Malik Neighbors is going to make a play. By the way, they have no tight end what to speak of right now. They're not even using that position. It's like everything is outside and everything. They like everybody says, Malik Neighbors needs help. Well, Wan'Dale Robinson had 11 catches last night.
Yeah, he was all over the place. That's the most he's been involved in a very long time. But just it's annoying. It's frustrating. It didn't feel like the Giants themselves had the same type of mentality that everybody had talking about this game. I mean, they played us in the beginning of the open of Thursday Night Football. And talking about, something I said, if you're going to get the Cowboys, you got to get them now. The things that you were talking about, how critical this was to change the narrative for. I mean, that's what we were saying in the open of this game. And they didn't play like that. They didn't. Fourth and goal on the 4 to finally beat those guys, the hated Cowboys, and beating the snot out of you for years and years and years. Outscored you 84-17 last year, and you trot out your backup kicker to kick a 22-yard field goal. Be aggressive. Throw the ball into the end zone, and no one's going to sit here and blame you for it. Think we take any calls about, you should have kicked a 22-yard field goal? No. They would have said, hell, that's the stuff you have to do to be aggressive. I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, you're gonna. Nobody expects you to be good anyway this year. You're 1-3. Be aggressive.
I just think I think there's a point in time where a guy on the sideline is getting the feel of a game, and he doesn't want to come away with no points. Doesn't want to give the other team momentum, and we could sit here back and forth, and argue back and forth. Brian Daboll's been a part of how many football games in his life?
Yeah, I know, but I.
And how many times has he had the opportunity to go for it? And last night he did go for it 4 times.
He did, but I mean, the one that was to me that just felt like okay, we're just here to hang around. We're not here to win. We're here to hang around and see what happens.
This is the thing that happens. If you get blown out, it sucks. And then if you do get blown out, it's like you gotta at least give me a game. You got to be competitive. You got to look like you got fire in your belly. I actually thought, with the exception of the fact that the Giants couldn't run the ball at all. There were 3 plays where 3 different players dropped the ball, or 2 different players dropped the ball.
Yes.
And Wan'Dale Robinson dropped 2, and Malik Neighbors dropped 1. And if those 3 plays are made, we're not sitting here. Maybe the Giants are winning, 23-20, because I'm assuming they would have won for 2 after they would have scored a touchdown to take the lead.
Yeah, I just having them in your building with them reeling and dominating the time of possession, and to come out of that with a loss, and now you've got 4 straight games ahead of you where you're going to be an underdog. It's just, I don't know. When you're early on in the season and you're the New York Giants and you've got these opportunities to actually have some energy around your season, and you kind of you play like that. It's really disappointing. Really disappointing.
Do you feel like the guys were slipping a lot last night?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I thought
Did you
so.
also feel like we saw a number of lower leg injuries again?
Yeah, well,
Especially
you had
on the Cowboys side.
well, I mean, you had I remember
Marcus Lawrence.
You had 2 concussion situations, obviously with Neighbors and Parsons, which has nothing to do with the turf. But you had those 2. You had DeMarcus Lawrence. You had Zach Martin.
Yep. I think it was another defensive lineman for the Cowboys. Be interesting to see what the injury toll is on a short week and on that field.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a story that's been going on for a while, and they haven't been able to figure that out. But I mean, to me, you go from the energy that you got from the Cleveland Browns win, the victory over the Browns, coming into this Thursday night game against your bitter rival, to now having all of that air out of the balloon again.
You know, here's where the frustration lies. I think for the Giant fan, since 2000, they've had five seasons where they have started their 2 home games to start that season where they have not scored a touchdown. And in back-to-back years, 23 and 24, it's the same thing. No touchdowns in the first 2 home games of the season. That's amazing to me.
Bad teams are bad teams, right? I mean, I don't know. It was, and I'm, as we say, not Giants fans, but want them to do well, want them to be a part of the discussion in the NFC East and in the conference. And I wanted them to win last night badly. And I felt like they had an opportunity, and it just shows you can't trust them. You can't. The energy that they are lacking was coming from the head coach. It doesn't seem like it is as much. Wink's not there. He had a lot of energy. I know Shane Bowen's defense has been pretty good, but and then you've got, Huckleberry Finn as your quarterback. What are we doing?
Well, I mean, the last 4 home games that Daniel has started, it goes back to his 2 games prior to his injury last year. The Giants have lost by 40 points, 21 points, 22 points, and then last night 5 points, and they have not scored a TD in any of those 4 games. And I can't sit here and say that he didn't play well last night. I thought he played well. If I wanted to nitpick, it was a couple underthrown balls. Early on, he threw the ball on the wrong side of Malik Neighbors where, the ball hit Malik, but it was like either inside or short or low.
But we're not evaluating a guy in his rookie season or year 2.
I know,
we're trying to figure it out.
I understand.
It's enough.
But again, they had the ball for 36 minutes. And by the way, they only ran the ball for 26 yards on a team that has averaged 187 yards given up on defense the first 2 weeks of the season, 3 weeks of the season.
I mean, they in my
26 yard, they average 1.1 yard a rush.
I mean, that's pathetic, absolutely pathetic. And then Devin Singletary almost fumbles again, and I don't know what I guess he's decided he's not going to wear gloves now because the gloves were the thing that was going to make him fumble. I don't know.
He didn't fumble. It wasn't a fumble.
I know, but he almost fumbled.
But it wasn't a fumble.
I understand, but he's been fumbling, and then that was very, very close to being a fumble.
But it wasn't a fumble.
Yeah, but he's got a fumbling problem, and they were going after him.
It was not a fumble.
Okay. But
that's why they have replay.
Yeah.
That's why they have replay assist now.
Yeah. Yeah, you get really wrapped up in that. I don't think anybody cares.
No, but I'll tell you why I care, because it was – I'm trying to think. It was the Dallas Cowboy touchdown, the screen pass to the left.
Yeah.
Early on in the game. 2 flags came out. And before they went to commercial, Al Michaels said they were given a hand with replay assist. The referee, the head ref, did not say that until later in the game when he was starting to say, with help with replay assist. Yeah. But I was like, okay, what was the help with replay assist? What were the flags thrown for?
I mean, for years and years and years, we used to talk about stuff like this, about don't they have somebody somewhere that can look at this and see the replays that we say and change it? And now they're doing it.
They started a couple of years ago in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't mind it, but I'm just saying, what was the replay assist? Why did they make them pick up the flags? I still, at this point, don't know that.
Okay.
Now, later on in the game, when Wan'Dale Robinson dropped the ball and they thought maybe it was a fumble and the Cowboys returned it, the referee got on and said, with replay assist, we determined that is an incomplete pass. Okay, explain it. Fine. They never, I didn't hear any explanation. as to why replay assist got involved when flags were thrown, and it was supposedly a holding against the Cowboys.
Okay.
And
so that's the answer you're looking
I
for.
still don't know what replay assist did on that play.
Okay.
And why was not replay assist used when they called a phantom face mask penalty on the
Bizarre.
Giants?
Totally bizarre. Got the wrong player, the wrong team. I mean, that was a momentum swing for sure when you're talking about a personal foul.
That was a killer. Yep.